So will the new G Fuel energy drink make noise in the beverage category? So in the next few months, somewhere around early summer, the largest gaming positioned supplement company, Gamma Labs, the maker of G Fuel, is going to be coming out with a full 16-ounce large format energy drink that's going to have the G Fuel name. And I know what you guys are probably thinking by just kind of this intro. I have talked about this beverage mirage before, about how supplement companies are moving into the beverage category and how disproportionate the losses are to the few wins that have happened with those scenarios. But let's kind of dig into this Gamma Labs G Fuel energy drink that I believe could create a lot of noise in the energy beverage category. Maybe you guys are familiar with Gamma Labs, maybe you're not. Let's kind of take a trip down memory lane first, just so you guys get a little sense of maybe their background. They were started in 2004 by Cliff Morgan. He's still CEO. Gamma Labs started as a traditional kind of sports nutrition brand, and then somewhere around the early 2010s, Gamma Labs in their G Fuel product kind of shifted from like a pre-workout to a gaming supplement. I remember at a few of the Europa Sports Expos when they would have booths at them. I'll give them credit, they had some really good music and they had a really great tasting product in G Fuel. So I'd come over, grab some samples while walking the floor or visiting clients. And to be completely honest, and my memory is not all that great, I can't really remember the language being a lot around like gaming when the employees were explaining the product. That might be because it was at the Europa Sports Expo. You got to also take yourself back into the early 2010s when gaming, esports, all of that was very much fringe, very much bleeding edge. And for someone that is walking around the Europa Sports Expo, they're probably not all that interested in gaming at that time. They're more interested in working out. So they're probably still using some trade marketing that was positioned towards more health and fitness. But this is the time when they did start transitioning away from traditional sports nutrition and into this new trend of gaming and esports, which again at the time was extremely novel. And they were early, even in fast forward a few years from what I'm talking about, like a 2014-15 era, is when ESPN started to focus on some kind of like off-hour, late-night type of showing esports tournaments. I believe maybe League of Legends or something similar was on ESPN, and that was the time when people initially kind of like mainstream sports consumers started to take notice of this trend that was already kind of moving at this time, this esports and gaming trend. Even at that time, G Fuel was their A SKU. It's still their A SKU. If you take a look at just the composition of the product, very high margin product, very good A SKU to have, provides them a lot of opportunities to do things like this energy drink. And to give you a sense of just like the size of Gamma Labs, they are an Inc. 500 multiple winner, so you can see their retroactive revenue. 2017 Inc. magazine confirmed that they had $19.4 million in revenue. I would guess based on my market knowledge and just my understanding of the situation, I believe they're probably close to about $40 million in 2018. But that just gives you kind of a conservative estimate. It could be a little bit higher or lower on that number. If I had to probably guess, it would be probably on the higher end of that note. But a company that size, if you put them in the sports nutrition category, they are a pretty large player, not top 10, but very substantial business. Now, if you move that in the context of beverage, remember back to my energy drink market analysis video, we're talking about numbers are in the billions there. So if they're at a $40 million base at this point, they are substantially smaller than these energy players that they're going to be taking on. But regardless of that maybe challenge at Gamma Labs with G Fuel in this launch, like why do I believe that this is different? Why do I believe, and why am I making this video to explain to you guys why I think this particular beverage energy drink launch is going to be different than most of the other ones from supplement companies? First, let's just kind of dive into product stats. You guys know, like I don't put a lot of weight in the product itself as the winning denominator in today's market. With the environment we're in with low barriers of entry and the ability for people to quickly copy, incrementally innovate, a product is really not the differentiator in the market today. But I think it's important just to look at, we're obviously talking about a consumable, we're talking about a energy drink, and there are some elements of the product that maybe will either hold them back or give them an advantage. So first of all, there's going to be some ingredients that are a little bit outside of just the general caffeine and flavoring and sweeteners. So they would be considered in this performance energy category. That is the fastest growing energy category right now, so it's great to be positioned into that area. They're also going to be 0 calorie, 0 sugar. Again, a growing category within the energy drink market, so positioned well again there so they don't have any resistance. Their flavors that they're coming out with are definitely on brand. They are also on trend in terms of some exotic, interesting millennial, or in their case, probably even Generation Z. You have flavors like blue ice, sour cherry, rainbow sherbet, and they're doing a collaboration with FaZe Clan. If you guys have not ever heard of FaZe Clan, they're arguably like the biggest esports team. They have a bunch of different members, bunch of very high earning YouTubers and Twitch streamers. They're also accomplished esports tournament prize winners. They are doing a collaboration with them that kind of extends with their powder, their G Fuel powder called Phaseberry. So if you just take a quick kind of checklist, packaging, if you take a look at it, definitely on brand with their customers. I would just kind of the brightness and the look of it is on trend for the category. Flavors are on brand, on trend, and the product attributes are on trend. So they check the boxes. There's not going to be levels of resistance coming from the product. If they can nail the flavoring similar to their powdered products, definitely not going to have any resistance on that side as well. So let's kind of move into the sales strategy. This is where a lot of people fumble. Supplement companies that are getting into the beverage category, this is where a lot of them stumble. That's where I made a lot of my points in that first video. And quite honestly, one of the main reasons why I believe the G Fuel energy drink project is going to work is because they're kind of getting outside of the rat race of beverage. Beverage is all about distribution. That is beverage 101. You're moving heavy liquids. You want to do it the most efficient way. It's always through the closest points of distribution. So tend to have either national distributors, which is very lucky if you can get access to those, especially on a startup product, or you have this kind of weird web of beer distributors and maybe some regional beverage distributors if you're lucky to get into their little network. So this is where a lot of things fumble because that's very foreign to supplement companies. But Gamma Labs and G Fuel is a very different beast. Of that 40 million that I'm projecting for 2018, 90% of that is direct to consumer. They are one of the companies, if you want to look at how to do direct to consumer in the sense of like a supplement industry or just like a functional CPG category, this is a great one to look at. This is definitely a brand that understands how to drive traffic to a website, convert that traffic, and keep that customer information. So because of that, direct to consumer is national distribution. It's not usually used that way in beverage just because it is a little bit more costly to do that. You definitely could get better margins by getting a bunch of distributors and charging them the national distribution price. This isn't going to be the game that I believe that Gamma Labs and this G Fuel product play right out the gate. They're going to leverage this direct to consumer because it's their core competency and it's their strength. This is honestly an easy sell from their customers that are already coming in, already that traffic that's getting sent to the website. This product is a line extension of a product that's their A SKU. It's already within a category and a consumption behavior that a lot of these consumers are already doing. It's a matter of them being able to switch those consumers out of Monster, Rockstar, Red Bull, Bang, and getting them into G Fuel's energy drink. I'm not saying that that's not going to be a challenge because obviously those competitors are very strong. They're also positioned in the gaming category as well. But the benefit of direct to consumer is that Gamma Labs knows their customer. They know that they've either been asking for this or there's just a lot of data that proves that this is going to be successful. After you get some wins under your belt, you prove that the product is doing well. Maybe you launch a flavor or two, a seasonal, something that's going to show some spikes in sales based on some exclusivity. I think then you take that sales story and you open it up to distribution. Because I think that while most brands are really trying to focus on speed and let's see how quick we can move, I think actually being patient and creating this really strong sales story is actually more beneficial to Gamma Labs because they're working within an energy category that right now is fragmenting a little bit. You have this performance energy drink category that is very new and is growing very fast. That trend is going to progress a little bit. And also they're very much positioned towards gamers and esports, which is a growing positioning in terms of the marketing. So That's going to mature. This gives Gamma Labs, this gives G Fuel a chance to kind of see how time progresses on some of these very hot trends. And as those things build and as they have a great selling story, they have a lot more leverage. And the last kind of side of this equation is geared around the marketing strategy. They're very heavy influencer marketing based right now. I think they have a combined reach of all their influencers and their own corporate owned social media accounts. It's somewhere around 200 million. So this is going to be kind of no different. I'm not 100% sure on category exclusivity with some of their influencers. Some of their influencers might have a sponsorship with some of the big players. If that's the case, maybe they do lose a little bit of an ability to have direct influence on their launch. Those influencers are still going to be driving traffic towards the powder products. If the website's set up appropriately, they should still get a lot of indirect conversion from that traffic that gets sent. And because they are so heavy direct to consumer, they know their customer, I'm assuming they have a really good sense of their customer data and be able to pull some analytics and pull some intelligence off of that customer data. If they're able to do that, they get into the world of being able to personalize a lot of the marketing, really drive successful conversions. I'm going to assume with the growth rate and the amount of business they do on that channel that they do have a good sense of that. So I believe that's just going to help the snowball roll down the hill a lot quicker. And I think they continue to double down, quadruple down, whatever you want to kind of consider it, on the gaming world, on the esports world. I'm extremely bullish on this world. I believe it's going to be much bigger than anybody's talking about, even some of the most bullish analysts out there. I believe that Gamma Labs and G Fuel will continue to ride the growth of gaming and esports. This is not all that unlike when I was at Muscle Farm in the early 2010s and we rode the UFC's growth. Domestically, globally, we kind of rode the growth of UFC, and that was one of our big marketing vehicles. I think that Gamma Labs is going to do just that with gaming and esports. Like, what could happen after the launch? Touched on this a little bit before. Like, beverage is still very analog, is still very focused on distribution, and I believe, after this initial kind of test, Gamma Labs will, entertain distribution. I think it's going to be in a way of kind of strategic investment where one of the big four national distributors will come in and purchase distribution rights and a piece of their business in exchange for that. Depending on how quick this all goes, you could see some major things happening with Gamma Labs and the beverage category if my assumptions and my gut feeling is correct on this one. And then being that they're really focused on gaming and esports and that being such a global phenomenon, I expect them to try to navigate the international markets. I think the tough thing about functional foods, beverages, because of the margins being a little bit slimmer, it's tough to export those things into different countries. So a lot of times you're looking at in-country manufacturing. That sets up a lot of different challenges. Energy drinks also are regulated differently in different regions, different countries. So there's some packaging changes, some formula changes that usually need to happen. So depending on their mix of customers right now and how they deal with international customers right now, I think you're going to see them definitely try to dabble in that when they get outside of this first initial test domestically and try to really put the pedal to the metal for growth. Some final thoughts just to wrap this video up. I know that there's a ton of competition in the energy drink category. I also know, even distilled down into gaming focused energy drinks, most if not all of the major players active in the gaming space. I've worked in the energy drink category of functional CPG for quite a few years, have a lot of experience in my belt looking at individual companies, individual strategies, also the market. And regardless of indicators that show maybe this is going to be a tough sell, my gut is saying this one's going to be a win. And with me saying this is going to be a win, I want to make sure I kind of caveat this. If we look at a win in this scenario, we have to remember that Gamma Labs has a certain revenue base. That revenue base is still very small. So we're not looking at hundreds of millions of dollars on a go-to-market and all this kind of stuff that takes quite a few years. Though they might get to that point quicker or slower than I project, I honestly think that they will have a strong percentage of their sales mix by product towards energy drink in the next 12 to 18 months. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos. Would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.